folks, and welcome back for another episode of Our Journeys. And once again, we get to kick off the episode, nay, the week, with a game that is geared towards the Shred for the Bread competition / tournament. Stand by. Right after this episode, I'm going to go over really quick the kind of the rules, the timeline, how you can get your submissions in and everything like that. Should take about a minute or so. It'll be right after this game, kind of a PSA, and then we'll move on. I actually shot a version of this where I try to describe it during this game, but I thought it took away from the gameplay itself, obviously, so we'll get into that afterward. Right off the jump, something to notice here. Rickissimo, or Rickissimo, but I think it's Rickissimo, or Rickissimo. That sounds even cooler. Rickissimo the Dovahkiin is in the Thief, is ranked. This is the ladder game. This is not just a casual game. Ricky has dared to take this onto the ladder, and he is up against a top 10 player, BVs of the Azura clan, and I know we've seen BVs in other games as well, so he is, and it's not only that, but it is a BVs top 10 with Telvanni on the ladder. And so what we are seeing here, I would say the stakes are pretty darn high. And Ricky, similar to C-City, Ricky has chosen a assassin build for his poison. He's already got a soul shred in his hand. That's a huge help, obviously. And he really, so in terms of the competition, or in terms of the tournament, getting into the tournament, it's all about the numbers. It's all about the number of times you hit equals the amount of times you shred, or multiplied by the time you shred, and that's how we get there. But for the competition, things like being on the ladder, and who your opponent is going to factor in. It may not be right, but I mean that's kind of like college football, where it's like they base a lot of your ranking on things you can't control. The strength of schedule, which a lot of teams don't have a whole lot of control over. Who you beat, who you lost to, how much you beat them, or how much you lost to them. So those are going to play a factor here, I believe, when it comes to Tusk deciding who the ultimate champion is. So, if the numbers are about equal, it's going to come down to just how good of a game it was, how it was won, etc. But anyway, let's focus in here. I mean, Ricky, again, with a lot of the Wisp Mother, we saw that with C-City as well. So it looks like a lot of the similar weapons, and I think we may see Assassin is the preferred build. I do think Battle Mage could work with Rimmen's Siege weapon, as Tusk mentioned. You got Rimmen's Siege weapons, and like your imps, your fiery imps, cards like that could make it very good. But is it going to be as good as Assassin? I don't know. Assassin may just have a leg up. If you're choosing to break that rune. The great thing about the shred, a soul shred deck, though, is when you are up against like a control deck like Telvanni or Empire, especially one that has the amulet down, maybe 2 amulets. Oh my goodness, what about 3 amulets? It doesn't matter how much health they have if they run out of all the cards. So you're not necessarily worried about health gain in a way that even if you run Ultimate Heist, you still kind of have to make sure that you get them, depending on how many copies you run, you have to make sure you're able to get them down to at least probably 10 health to get, if you have 2 of those, if you end up drawing 2 in your deck. You can win with that, but you got to get them down to 10. Here, you don't got to get them down to anything. Well, I guess you do, because they every time they deck, they lose a rune. So, yeah, okay, take back what I said. It actually does matter. And there we go. We just had, oh, I didn't see the amount. It was a decent amount. And again, these are compounded, so that was not the king of all shreds, but it was a decent shred. I think it got rid of at least 12 cards. It looked like it. A lot more than 12. Goodness gracious. Now, when I'm actually looking to keep score, I'll be able to go back, but if I rewind the video or pause this video, it's going to make it a lot harder to sync up in post. So I'm just going to watch the game all the way through. And unfortunately, I did when Ricky first submitted this to me. Actually, it's Jonathan Velasquez actually who reached out, just sent me a comment, on one of the videos, said, "Hey, how do I submit for this tournament?" And I told him, and next thing I know, I've got a video to watch. And he just said, "Hey, the big shred happens at the end." But again, it's for the single shred, but for the competition, perhaps, you just want to focus on the one, but in general, we're looking at the whole shebang. If you get, you know,
what have we here?
2 different procs for the shred mechanic, we will add those up, and that is your total for the game.
I'll scout it.
Not just the big one. But anyway, he said the end one is a good one. And so I skipped right there, essentially skipped that to that and watched it. So I'm not, so I don't want to try to conjure up the excitement, but trust me, I was very excited with this, and I think you all will be too. It's already, as you can see, shaping up really well with those Thief Guild's fences, or just fences. Remember, if they're Thieves Guild, or just thieves, but they're fancy. They're fancy, and they've got boots. They're Puss in Boots. Great movie, by the way. Puss in Boots and The Final Wish. Actually, surprisingly wholesome. I mean, just very straightforward and deals with, without spoilers, I mean, it deals with the concept of death and mortality and legacy and how they all interplay and how, you know, what the value of them actually is, what the value of it actually is. And I think it's a pretty significant message for adults, let alone children, but it's handled in a way that children can watch it. It's not going to give them nightmares or anything. They probably won't quite get it until they're older, but I think it really communicates a very strong principle. As people said, it's better than it has any right to be, and I think that's primarily because it has a level of profoundness, kind of like Inside Out from Pixar. All right, but yeah, you see, okay, here, the Wisp Mother... Wait a minute. Oh, because... Wait, what? Wait, okay. Ah, geez. See, I go talking about Pixar, and I needed to be focusing. I'm guessing these were discounted by the fence. Because they have to be 2 cost, if I'm not mistaken, for the Wisp Mother to... I keep hovering over as if I can make her show me the stats, but it's... At first I thought it was like 2 power, but no, it's 2 cost. And this right there, that is a dead giveaway that BB's is running a Flesh Atronach OTK. I'm almost 100% positive. Matt Oblivium, who used to stream a lot on Twitch, that's the only time he ran the Spider Daedra, was when you're trying to put a ton of body from the graveyard as quickly as possible. It's not that great of a card otherwise. But you know what? Spider Daedra with like Divine Fervor, they still die to Ice Storm, so I don't know. But I'm not saying that that's not the only way you can use it, or that is the only way you can use it. But typically, you see that it's tipping the hand to a Flesh Atro. But we'll see.
This one will be going.
Ricky definitely has, or
this one will be going.
Ricky. I wish I knew. But he's definitely getting a ton of procs right here, and I think this is it. I think he is going for it. And, you know, he set up the board. He has the cards in his hand. He does have the Rana too, which is great. I mean, that the more times you can use Shoulder Shred, the better. But the problem is your opponent only has so much life. You can only hit them so many times before they would just die in general. So you are limited by what you can do. Drawing more cards. He is able to draw another Opportunist, which means another ping. Another 2 pings, actually, with another 3. Oh my gosh, 4 pings. Yeah, the Wisp Mother, just the value there. And again, you really need to be able to think ahead when you're doing this. We saw Sea City did it as well, but it's like you need to keep that lane open because you know you're going to send a card. I mean, it's to pull it off. Look at that, 14, top 14 against a 3-color deck. So that's 14, 14 and 14, which is 28, plus 14 is 38, plus 4 is 42. That's 42 hits, and look at that. Another 1 and 2 because now they became, because of that debilitate, they became 1/1s. They get to attack again because of the support. So a fantastic one. 1 point away. If he had been able to crack that last rune with them, it would have been a win on the deck out. But instead, very Black Hand does not matter. The Black Hand is useless.
Victory is yours. Well
done. Riquissimo. I don't know how it was pronounced, but well done. That was fantastic. You know, again, I'm not going to compare the two, but like I said, Sea City had an amazing game, but he was up against a dual attribute deck, and he actually shredded more. He had more pings. He got up to 16, which is actually 14 because you start with 2. But he had more pings, but it was fewer attributes. So ultimately, and he only got to do it on 1 soul shred. And what we saw here from Jonathan, I believe the name was, I'm blanking again, Ricky there, was a soul shred against 3 attributes, and he had 2 of them. So he probably had at least 50, 55 or 65, somewhere in there, total shreds. So that would be 1 game. So I'll go over the rules real quick. So for example, that game, let's say he submitted that, and I'm sure he will submit that as one of his 5 games for the tournament consideration and as well for the competition submission. So that was about 65 hits, or 65 total shredded cards. And he gets style points. He didn't quite get a deck out, but he did win on a deck out, essentially. I mean, if his opponent hadn't conceded, he wins on the deck out. So it wasn't just, okay, I burned, 30 cards from my opponent, and so I've crippled them a little bit, but they're still able to play. Burned them all the way down to you got nothing left in a 3-color deck, which is amazing. So again, style points, you're looking at who you're playing against, what level games are. Now, granted, if you have an amazing game and you're rank 11, that's still going to be considered. That's still a factor. I think part of it is just being on the ladder is, having that level, knowing that you've got people playing sweaty decks, you got people playing meta decks, but you're still running this. And as a reminder, for the competition and actually for the tournament, you don't have to win. You just have to shred for the bread. So it makes it a little bit easier. But that's going to make some people not want to take it on the ladder because you don't want to play a deck that you might lose, even if you're able to succeed in doing the shredding. So it's a balance act you might have to do. But as we saw here, it is possible, it is feasible to do it at a high level and get a win against a very good opponent running a very good meta deck. Just to hit the basics really quick. Again, we have until the 20th of May is when this ends, and we're on the 12th now. So essentially about a week from today, Friday, this is Friday, so less than a week from Monday is when all the submissions need to be in by. That gives us about a week, a little less than a week to process them all, to do all the counting and everything, to announce who the top 8 finishers are for the tournament. The best way, if you have games, you can record them. I mean, most things now have a way to screen capture. Doesn't matter if you got audio or not. We just need to see those shreds and see those numbers so we can get a good count on them. Obviously, if you want it to be considered for the competition as well, then we need to see pretty much the whole game, because it's really gonna how spectacular the game is, which admittedly, again, is subjective, but is going to depend on the nuances of the game and the context of it as well. But the easiest way to get those to me is to send an email to jgray, that's JGRAY, at gmx.com. You send me that email either with a link to a YouTube or Rumble video. And as a reminder, you can if you've got a Google account, if you can actually comment on YouTube videos, you have an account, and you can put videos on there if you want. You don't have to make them public if you don't want to, but you can use that as a way to get the video to us, and I can essentially do a screen record, grab the game, and for spectating purposes, and to pass it on to Tusk. Or you can just shoot me the email and say, hey, please send me the Dropbox link, and I will use the email address you sent me to send an invite to my Dropbox, or to a folder in my Dropbox. You don't have to have a Dropbox account, and you can submit all your videos right through there. You just drag and drop into the folder. Depending, you may have to do it more than once. Like, you do it, if it's the download gets interrupted or paused, just try it again. C-City has had that happen once or twice, but he's been able to get them in. So that's 2 primary ways to get it done. You can also say, hey, I want to do this, but I don't have a way to record the game. Can you record, 5 of my games? I'm going to try to do it. Maybe 6 or 7, just in case 2 of them it doesn't work out. But obviously, you're not going to have as quite a high of a chance as somebody who can just record all the games and pick the top 5. But at least it gives you a chance. We can try to set up a time with me or with Brave or somebody else who's capable and willing to do recordings to spectate those games for you. So that's how you can get it done. Again, you got about a week from when this video comes out to get that done, the 20th of May, which is the end of the day essentially. And the competition is one facet of it, which is based on all the ins and outs of the game and how well you play it and everything. And the tournament is just the average of your 5 games. The top 8 shredding performers will then duke it out using their shred decks in the grand tournament that will take place on May 27th. It'll be pretty much I mean, depending on how many people we have. Right now, I've only got the Sea City game and this one are the only two that I've seen so far, personally. Doesn't mean that people aren't recording and aren't playing, but those are the only two that I've seen. So hopefully we get a good turnout, but already at least we're getting to see some folks use a card that really has not gotten a lot of love and doing it very well. So yeah, be encouraged. It is something that can be pulled off. It is just going to be kind of tricky. Well, like I said, we'd like to see some Battle Mage, and as Tusk said, Sorcerer actually might be the winner, like a skeleton deck, just for the wide board. But I think I think agility is probably going to be the best with Swift Strike and all the chargers it has. Probably going to be better off, but it'd be great to see a nice variety. Anywho, those are the rules, and now on to the games. And we are formally kicking off this video with Ratapia, who is running a green mono deck. Holy cow. That is not very often that you see a mono deck of any kind, but we've got agility mono, so hopefully we will be seeing a lot of those allies, as they are fantastic when you can proc them. So yeah, interesting to see what Ratapia has up his sleeve, up against Steph 29800, the Resolute, running in Dominion. So Ratapia running 1/3 of Dominion. He's lacking the intelligence and the willpower. That sounds horrible to say, but you know what I mean, Ratapia. I am not picking on you. As you can see, almost top 50 in Legendary already. So
just give me a name.
I don't know if he's made the climb with this deck. This is for Quest. I'm guessing it's probably Quest. I believe that's what he said. That kind of determines what decks he's going to run, is actually what he needs to do the quest. But unlike me, who just puts whatever crap he has to put together just to get the quest done, I think Ratapia and many others actually try to create viable decks that work with it, which is really what the spirit of the daily quest is. The daily quests, I think, are there to try to get you to stretch yourself, give you a reason to try decks that you may not otherwise try. So it's a really good thought process. But for people like myself, we're just like, if it's a plot deck, I'm just going to throw every single plot card and draw a card I can, and I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to probably end up conceding because I'm getting my butt kicked. So it's good to see. I don't know if that is in fact what we're seeing here from Ratapia the Gladiator, but I would not be surprised if such is the case. But yeah, and I do apologize. So I was so excited when I saw Jonathan's the game you just saw. When I saw it for the first time, I kind of screwed I didn't know what I was going to be looking at. So I didn't know how good it was going to be. I had no clue. I watched it. So my genuine reaction was super excited. The very typical of me. Holy cow, that was amazing. Wow, like just genuine mind blown how awesome that was. And in fact, I didn't see, because I skipped right to the end, because that's when he said that the Soul Shred happens. I missed the Soul Shred earlier. So it's actually, he did 42 in one turn, but he also did, I don't know how many at the very beginning. So he might have had an 80, 70 or 80 card shred that game, which would put him in really good stead. But yeah, just an amazing game. But I want to be genuine about it. And so if I'd seen that for the first time, I would have been just like, as you saw with Sea City. Unfortunately, because I kind of knew where it was going, I didn't want to like artificially drum up that same reaction, because like I said, it blew my mind. So we're just kind of seeing already a little bit of just kind of, taking it to the next level with each game. Working on Tempo Market. Okay. Interesting. And boy howdy, definitely up against a heck of a board from Steph 29800. Sai Sahan to the rescue! Taking a lot of damage off the board in conjunction with that curse. Went from, I don't want to do 8, 9, 10, I think, damage down to 4. With some good heads-up plays by Ratapia. And he's got some good late game. Tazcad, Gray Fox. I guess Gray Fox isn't late game. He's pretty mid-range, but... Interesting. Steph going for the trade. Oh, because I guess he saw Sahan would have got a free trade. So a good heads-up play by Steph.
Just in the nick of time.
Coming out of the Atronach, the goofy Stay Puffed Atronach. Trying to get to the Thief. And does Ratapia have a way to get rid of... He might Smuggler's Hall just to see if there's a way he can... If he can get a 0 cost, a silence or something for the Corner Club. Does not want her drawing 2 more cards, but that's going to be a tough call. And does he hit with Sai Sahan? Does he give his opponent more cards? He does, and is going to be at least moderately punished for it. I mean, I think that was the right play. If you just sit back, like, he's not going to be able to... I think once he realized he didn't have a good answer... And a good answer for a Corner Club, by the way, this is something, I can't remember if it was K Fluffy or somebody was telling me, remember, okay, yeah, no, he's going for the phase. All right, so he does have Smuggler's Hall and Swindler's Market for some health gain and that completed contract. Really no way to activate it, and he's going to take 7 this turn, and his opponent's going to have 5 cards to pick from. Ratapia is definitely in a tough spot at the moment.
I beseech the gods.
Yeah, markets are pretty devious, but I've not seen market in singleton agility.
Have business with House Halalu.
Silent as a shadow.
So I think there's an extra layer of difficulty there. And Smuggler's Hall, like, I never see that in market decks. They used to be part and parcel. Like classic market decks, you always saw Smuggler's Hall. But the new version gets all its draw power from the 5 costs that goes down. Spoils. There it is. So Ratapia also using that. Could be too little too late. I mean, Smuggler's Hall, I can't remember. I think 3 or 4. 4. All right, so he can heal for 4 at the very least. Actually, that's all he'd be able to heal for at this particular moment. Barring him drawing a curse or a curse generator. But even then, he only has 2 Magicka to work with if he does play Smuggler's Hall. And Steph is really giving it some thought. Does have 5 cards to work with. It needs to consider if Steph can, or if Ratapia can get lethal next turn. He cannot. Ooh. Okay. And yeah, Steph might have just been able to seal it up with that. Let's see. Ratapia can do 9. Even if he had Tazcat online next turn, which he's 1 Magicka off, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it. Oof. You can trade, he can take the 4 off. That leaves 5, 6, 7. Plus the Cliff Racer is 11.
If I fall,
So that and Smuggler's Hall gets him out of danger, especially Paralyze. Oh boy. That is going to be quite useful. And yeah, those are fantastic zero cost. I mean, look at that. Got him up to 11. I mean, he is looking at lethal next turn. Easy. Tazcad. Even if his entire board gets wiped out. So he's going to paralyze. Ooh, boy. Oh, and then close call. Duh, what am I thinking? I forgot that the market does damage as well. Wow. Very slow. Very slow right now. Well done, Ratapia. Next up is another top 10 player, Time Twist NPO. Rank number 144. It is just so stinking awesome to be able to watch so many top players. I said I went on a tangent last time, so I'm not going to do it again, but it's just really. But I enjoy games with folks that are rank 11 as well. In fact, I started one. I wasn't able to keep it. I'm not going to keep it in the video because our friend conceded kind of in the middle of the match, unfortunately. But it was rank 11 versus rank 11, and I was enjoying it. I was rooting for him. But yeah, it makes it very hard for me to include a game if somebody bails on it early. No hate. I mean, I didn't understand exactly why, but obviously anybody could have any number of reasons for why they do that. But just, I think for the audience to get invested in a game and then have it have it just kind of come to an abrupt end didn't really seem fair. But yeah, I'm happy with all that. There is no greater appreciation, but certainly it is a pleasure to be able to see so many top dogs. And I think it's also great to see, hey, you can get into the legendary ranks without playing absolute meta stuff. So anyway, Azurpus 3. Okay, well that might be pronounced something different. He is a rebel playing Redoran. 2. Goodness gracious. Aegis Guild and Move in Shadows.
We must protect our stronghold.
The douche. Le poke. And I am Root Bender. Goes down. Trebuchet, a favorite of Justin Larson. I think if I had to assign one card to Justin Larson, it was Trebuchet. That was just kind of his love. I mean, he played a lot of cards, a lot of janky stuff, a lot of fun stuff. But I just remember Trebuchet. Like, he was the first person I know that, like, I don't know if he just likes saying Trebuchet, because it is kind of fun to say. Trebuchet, okay, I want to say Trebuchet, okay. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just always hear him say, I just love Trebuchet. But how about you? Do you have any Justin Larson stories where it's like, oh, this is the card that I think of when I think of Justin Larson? Charmer, of course. Time to Fight, Nord Firebrands. That was his thing. He was an aggro player at heart. Liked Charge. Charge was his jam. So, and that was an easy one. He actually outright said Firebrands are his thing, and his whole catchphrase, his whole thing was Time to Fight. Okay, so Time Twist, also employing Swindler's Market. Now, you didn't go the mono agility route, but he is going to look to use that. And it's really hard. I mean, refining the balance, because Market, before Spoils of War in particular, Market wasn't, I don't want to say broken, because I don't know that it's even broken now, but it wasn't annoying. It was one way to go about it. And what we saw with Ratapia, oh my gosh, speaking of annoying, it's almost like I summoned it. I said annoying, and Poopstone was like, oh, it's time for me to go. And the hypocrisy of the Vicious D coming down to remove Time Twist's relatively harmless Market. Oh, but he's got the Excavate. Screw you, he seems to say. It's time for me.
There are always
Okay, I was going to say, well, yeah, Spoils of War is probably what we're going to see. Or maybe another, well, get the value out of Spoils. Yeah, if he had played Smuggler's Hall, he would have been close to overdrawing. And he's probably going to get hit for 3, a Rune Break. They would have had 1,
Gold Soul's
4,
most
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I think that's the first time I've ever seen a Dawn's Wrath used on 2 1/4s, but granted, they were going to drive quite the powerful engine with their pings.
They're in my sights.
And, Azurpus knows Time Twist has. Ooh. Very effective, the Debilitate. Not sure if we'll see it used here, but. Yeah, Ratapia saying market decks are hard to pilot. So my distinction is, if your deck can win, feasibly win, with any regularity without you ever drawing market, I think you're golden. I'm very reluctant any deck where it's, and I understand it's like, okay, this is a key card of the deck, or this is what the deck's trying to do. Like, say Flesh Atronach OTK. That's what you're going for. But if you never draw OTK, that Telvanni deck still has a very good chance of winning. There are usually multiple win conditions with Telvanni, many ways to make it happen. And so there's ways you can build market decks where you can win without ever drawing them. And then there's decks where you don't have a snowball's chance in heck because your whole thing is centered around that. So I don't know what we're seeing here from Time Twist. I feel like the Ratopia's deck could win without it. Oof.
Your blood stands
And,
forfeit.
draw life gain is, just life gain is the bane of markets. Markets really need to be able to whittle you down. And usually there's a lot of, the removal there is to get rid of drain or creatures that would do exactly what the Dark Seducer with a ridiculous hula hoo skirt thing is doing with now as a rally. And, oh, what a mess. What a mess. But Time Twist is the hungry. And Ratapia is saying that, I believe is saying didn't not enough credit. Is it really hard to solve puzzles in a short time? That is true. There is, so I definitely don't put market
Gold
up
solves
with.
most problems.
I guess that would be a distinction between market, because there's a lot of folks who don't like market. I personally don't. I will not concede to a market deck necessarily, unless you're playing in the Hexagauntlet. Market is a cheap way out, unless everybody else is running the Devious Imp or whatever is running the hard counters to it. It's ridiculous in a Hexagauntlet. But I think that's the distinction. Workshop and Invade do not require you to make smart plays, to figure anything out, or to really work against the clock. Whereas market decks most certainly do require that. They require a little more thought, working out things. Still, admittedly, not one of my favorite decks, personal favorites. But it's not the worst. It's not the worst. And as Ratapia said, it does require some finesse and skill to navigate. Ooh. Oh my gosh, Time Twist is going to invade. Darn you, Time Twist. No! No! It's fine. We know it's all harmless. All right, but he's got it. Yeah. And happily, we are able to join Ratapia again, running his Mono Agility Swindlers deck. And he's got two of his key pieces already.
Just give me a name.
Up against Mighty Blacksmith, the Nerevar Reborn. Oh yes, and Time Twist actually gave me the deck code for the game we just watched and said, you can play this as long as you play it on ranked. And I did actually have to craft a Swindler's Market, or not Swindler's Market, the Swindler's Hall, because I actually only had 2 copies of that. I don't really run Market. Oh, Swims at Night! Oh, Swims at Night. See, and that's the thing. So, at its conception, before Spoils of War, Swindler's Market was kind of a niche. It was okay, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say hyper competitive. You could definitely play it well, but Spoils of War kind of broke it a little bit. Just because, I think Spoils, I know that it's the mechanic, the empower mechanic, but I feel like Spoils should have, knowing what it could do with the market, it should have only been able to go down to 1. I don't think it's fine if you want to draw cards, but the fact that you could get it down to 0, use that as a ping for it, and then also draw cards with it, it just really creates this, again, I think there's a very fine line of synergy, of useful synergy and OP synergy. Just there's too much of it, and I've said it many times before. I'm not trying to gripe, but that's, I think, the problem with Invade. It has too much synergy. There's too many cards that invade, but that also do other things, useful things, while allowing you to invade. Instead of being like, okay, in order to do this, you've got to run this mechanic. And like Expertise does that as well. But it's not always to your advantage. Like if you want to try, like we've seen, if you're playing Expertise and you want to, we had the one opponent, in order to trigger Giggles, in order to get that life gain back, had to execute one of his own things, just because that's the only action he could play. He had to play an action whether he wanted to or not. you may not want to use a weapon on your creature, but oh, is this the end for Ratapia? Possibly not. I mean, he's up against a lot, but we've seen him and this is where I agree with Ratapia. When you're in a situation like this, which is where he was last game as well, you gotta do some juggling. You gotta do some tricky things. I mean, like, look, he's got 3 swindlers markets, but if he plays them all, you know, he's only has so many options. So you got to play him in the right order. You got to play him pretty quick because that timer is going to kick in eventually. You know, are you going to trade? I don't think he can. I don't think he has any way to win if he trades. I think he's got to ping face, get the spoils down. But I mean, but it's hard. It's really hard. Okay, go one swindler's market is going to get the 0 cost from that. I think he's really banking on spoils, giving him some 0 cost stuff because and maybe this is just it. I don't know. I mean, spoils, he's facing 11, 14. Well, okay, 11, 15 minus 1 for the curse, 14. So he needs 3 more life. He's going to get 3 more life from that, but he needs 1 more just to put him out of reach. Debilitate is going to be fantastic. He doesn't need to ping face, but he might. Nope, he's going to try to clear the board as best as he can. And he is going to play the curse. He's going to play the curse. He's not going to, he is playing the curse. Oh, and boy howdy. That was a heck of a turn. I mean, he had a great hand, but I think you can see there are definitely ways that he could have gone, you know, played that turn that would not have worked out well. That was pretty much able to maximize, and that's going to be a problem. I mean, luckily he's got Smuggler's Hall, which is 4, that's 12 damage. He's got it. He's got it. And that's the other half of it. That's where it's like, you have nothing on the board. Granted, he's got 3 Swindler's Markets, but I mean, he's got it. All he has to do is play Smuggler's Hall, and that's 4 cards. Times 3 is 12. There you go. And he's going to have to invade in order to get this win, but I don't think he'll have a problem.
Fight is done.
Yep. And Mighty Blacksmith, seeing the writing on the wall. Well done, Ratapia.
This episode is sponsored in small part by the legendary Remnant Discord. If you or someone you love has been hurt by a meta deck or been beaten around by a crazy meme deck that just happened to get lucky against you, turn to the legendary Remnant Discord. We're here for you. We can provide countenance, counseling, mockery, smiles, giggles, and all sorts of things in between. Side effects may include dysentery. I pretty much make it stop with dysentery, I think. Okay, anyway. The primary sponsor for this video is Archer's Stealth, a 3-cost action from the brilliant mind of Vincenzo. It is in Archer colors, and it gives a creature lethal, and at the start of each turn, it may deal 1 damage. This card is... You are trying to wreck the game, Vincenzo. You are trying to break the game. This is malicious. There is no way this card... I mean, this is way too much. This is a Lana Bannock for as little as 3. You could throw this on a Nord Firebrand, for crying out loud. Just have it sitting in the shadow lane. Throw this on a Nord, and he's got Elena Bannock powers the next turn. Now, yes, silence is a thing. Removal is a thing. Allied Guardians are a thing. But the fact that you... I mean, you've got Archer's Gambit. Archer's Gambit gives you 1 ping and a bit of movement. But the big thing is the ping. The movement can be helpful, but even if you just... You know, your card just rose up and pinged without it, I think Archer's Gambit would still be good. It gets better because of the movement. But I think permanent lethal, because Archer's Gambit doesn't give you lethal. You got the Skooma Racketeer or Profiteer. It's a 3-cost that gives 2/2 body that gives a creature lethal. You've got the Assassin Ritual, which I believe is a 3, might be a 2. A 2 or 3 gives lethal and a ward. Giving lethal is a pretty big deal. Like this alone, just giving a creature lethal for 3 is not all that bad. You don't really have that I mean, I guess you already have that in Agility. Like I said, it's either a 2 or 3 cost. I think it's a 3 cost, is the Skooma Racketeer. But like that effect alone is powerful. But to be able to shoot each turn for 1, I mean, it could stay on the board in perpetuity. Like if your opponent just doesn't have an answer for it, it's just sitting there pinging off, you know, creatures left and right. I mean, it's not unstoppable, but it just seems to be a little strong for the cost. That's all I'm thinking. The art right off the jump, I would say it's good. I mean, it definitely looks like it's in the TESL world again. A maybe a little simplistic, simple strokes. This looks like actually almost Breath of the Wild art. Maybe not quite as brushstrokey, but kind of looks a little bit more like that. But overall, I think it fits right in. Archer Stealth, I think it's a great name, and I like what it does. I just think Elena Banach costs 6, and yes, hers is an immediate thing, but it's 6, and this is giving a Nord Firebrand the potential to be a lethal charger, or to be a Viper. Essentially, that's a 3-cost Viper right there. At worst, at best, it's a lethal 1/1 that can attack anything in front of it, and it's going to be able to ping other things. And also it can hit face. So you could give that to Khajiit, and Khajiit are now going to be able to pilfer every turn. So I like it. It's a very dynamic card. It has a lot of utility. I think it's got to be at least a 4. I think at least a 4. You are gambling because there are a lot of ways to remove it. But I don't know if that effect can be for 3. I don't know what's happened, Mitch. You went on a swing. You were like, everything was too costly, and then it was just right. And now we're going, let me just discount everything, which I know you didn't do because you created these a long time before I even started doing this. So I know that's how it's happening. But it's just odd. I don't know. And y'all can let me know if you think that is a fair cost at 3. I just think the amount of utility it has and will provide, it doesn't do it immediate, but its potential is so high. I feel like there's got to be a little bit of risk, or maybe make it a legendary? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not 100%. I'm not saying 100%. I could see this being a big, especially if there's 3 of in a deck, and especially later in the game when you can combine this with other cards. I think this gets kind of zany. But anyway, y'all can let me know. Thank you for taking a gander. Vincenzo, again, once more, thank you so much for all the creativity that you've been pouring in, that we've been able to see, your mind at work, and it's a pleasure, and it's fun, and yeah, it's just crazy to see, or crazy to think about the implications and possibilities of cards like this. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and now let's get you back to the games.
Oh boy, this is good stuff. D13, who we just started seeing spectating, again, a top 10 player, and is in Arena, which I know a lot of you folks are excited to see. I'm excited to see. There's been definitely a call for that, and so D13, hats off to you. Much obliged for the Arena run. Don't know how many we'll see, but as long as he's willing to play, I am more than happy to spectate it. Just shaking things up a little bit. Granted, I would say mono agility Swindler's Market is shaking things up to a degree as well. And yeah, I believe I was just reading the comments from Ratapia, and I think that is, I believe, the deck that he used to get to Legendary. And just played it to great effect. And it's just great to see. Alrighty, so D13, Loyal House Carl, not often played and constructed, but I have seen it when you're trying to put together that, those, if you're running that 75 card deck and you're trying to get those 15 to 20 prophecies in there, she's on the list. She is effective right there. In fact, she's my wallpaper. I actually have a nice higher res version of just the top, pretty much from like just above the waist up. I had to Photoshop the face a little because she has this really, really nasty sneer. If you really see the art, like she's got all these ugly like wrinkle lines, like she's just snarling, but her mouth isn't in a snarl. It's just kind of like, and the way that the gap between her teeth, not between like vertically, but between the top teeth and the bottom teeth, it looks like she's just kind of like taking a small breath, but she's got this like furrowed thing that looks like she should be going, ah. Feel the power of the moons. And she had a very long, I'm not one to talk about noses per se, but like just it just extended down a little too far. So I kind of gave her more of a moderate nose, so that it didn't like go down to the top of her lip. Had to move her mouth up a little bit, took out or rearranged the gap, so that it was kind of a little bit more of a and took out those harsh lines. So she's kind of scowling still, like she's still like, hey, but not like, I'm so mad, I got wrinkles all over my face. And and I also gave her I added a little color because her eyes look kind of gray. There's not a lot of, I don't know if y'all can see, remember I talked about the coaster that I got from the gal on Etsy? Fantastic, but I did a custom order where I essentially transformed a bunch of cards into coasters. But the thing with TESL art that I didn't realize is it's not incredibly saturated. And I know because if you actually look at the cards that Bethesda printed out, they're not very saturated either. So they look, digitally, they look very sharp and very, very rich. But that's digital. When you print, it's a whole other game. You're like in RGB, in like digital stuff, you have what they call rich black, which is like this very, very, very deep, hardcore black. When you're printing, it's true black, and it's not as deep as that. Now there are ways. I mean, I'm not an expert in it. I did print advertising for a while, and I just remember all our ads had to be in CMYK, and the difference between RGB and CMYK was pretty significant. It always looked better as RGB. It looked better digital. When you had to print it out, it kind of looked a little washed out. So anyway, the problem is when you go to print out this stuff, Bethesda created these to be digital. They didn't create them necessarily for print. So I don't know if it's a combination of things, because she used the same ink, the same process that she used with the other coasters that I got, but they just came out a little bit lighter than I was hoping for, honestly. But I don't know what the cause of it is, and as far as I know, it has to do with the fact that the cards, I send this really rich, deep, saturated file, but it's RGB, and I think it has to be converted to a print spectrum, and it kind of washes them out a little bit. But there's a way to get around that. Like I did a poster for my mom a long time ago, and I put it as a PDF. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about all this print stuff. Anyway, I think there's ways around it, but it makes it much easier when you're dealing with like a lot of the stuff is like video game art, and that's made. It goes on boxes. It's made to print. It's colored to print. Whereas these are designed to look amazing on a computer screen, not necessarily look fantastic when they're incarnated. But yeah, the colors are a little more muted. And I don't know why I started talking about muted colors. I really have no idea why. Honestly, I kind of lost track of the game. I don't even know. Are we still on I think we're still on the initial game. Yeah. Yeah, we are. And D13 is in a good place. Holding down the fort while I talked about a bunch of stuff that had no relevance to anything. If I can remember why I was talking about that. But Senshi Tiger. And another card. That's one card you will almost never see in ranked.
My sword is
but is quite the formidable card here. And it really, it is. Barring a silence, that's 4/7. That's your Hive Defender on steroids. The problem is it also costs a heck of a lot more. It's a 6 cost versus 4. If it was a 5 cost, your Hive Defender is a 3/6. So you'd think, and that's a 4 cost. So you'd think a 5 cost would be a 4/7, but it does not scale. I don't know what, in terms of when you're working through the math of these cards, I don't know why
One person's
why
trash
you
is
go up. I'm
another's
guessing there's a
treasure.
threshold where it's like, oh, once you go past a certain point, you need to elevate the cost, otherwise it's not fair. It can be broken. I don't know. Because logically, you would think if you're just going up a point in... Actually, no, I guess it's saying you're going up in attack and defense, and so maybe it warrants an increase in cost of 2 versus just 1. Maybe if it went up to a 3/7 or a 4/6, then it would have been a 5. But yeah, just, trying to work out stuff. Wrath of Sithis, though. I've been tempted to use that in Constructed just because you don't see it that often, but it's a freaky card. I would rather not see that card on the board. Not because it's a bad card. Just look at that. That's just nightmare fuel. Just straight up stuff like you're in your bed. I think it's from the POV of somebody in their bed. This freaky. I'm just glad it's not a premium because he'd be terrifying. Oh, but he's also he's only a rare, so you could actually make a premium at low cost. But was it? Yeah, opponent's cards cost 1 more in the next turn. That's kind of like a temporary and unconditional. unconditional in terms of after you play it, or it happens as soon as you hit the board, but kind of like your Garnag. Moon Moth Castellan. Castellan? Castellan? Castellan?
You can
I don't
tell
know.
them you thought of it.
Ooh, Wilds Incarnate. Not going to get any value out of it, but it is still a beefy body. And DC Antiel, Champions Trainer. Having a bit of a time, but Ratway Prospector. I do like that card. I've seen it go off a few times. It jumps up to like a 7/7 or something ridiculous like that, but more often than not, especially against guards, she's garbage. Because she has to attack in order to go invisible and essentially stay alive. But when you got guards down there, well, either doesn't attack and dies, because she gets attacked, or that, I guess that's another option. She'll stay alive for another turn and doesn't have to attack. But D13 is going to get...
Mine.
Oh, she... Okay, makes the trade anyway. Interesting to see. Ooh. And there it is. Ain't that always the way? It's like your opponent, they have 3 cards to play. And they play one, you're like, that's not a problem. They play a second, you're like, I'm good to go. And then they play a third, and you're like, son of a... I don't have an answer for that. Save the best for last. I mean, to be fair, Monastic Champion and Wilds Incarnate, which he can play both of those on this turn, are more than enough to overpower the
True peace, ferocity.
yeah, maroons, like runes, runes, Dagon Seducer. A little bit of punctuation and that would change the whole context of the card.
Soldiers.
All right, that's not too bad. So DC Antiel is not drawing useful late game. D13 has 2 very good cards. So we might see a concession from DC. Especially after pillaging Tribune. But I think he's deciding whether or not to play it. He might want another rune broken before he drains. But you never know if you're going to be able to have
all that is needed.
the luxury of that. Deciding on breakdown, I gotta believe he's going to hit. But
Burn it all to the ground.
great card in. Ooh, another prophecy. Or maybe no, he got the prophecy last time. I may have missed one. That's one of those sorry come lately prophecies. Like the damage has been done. Not terribly helpful, but it is. I think it lasts. I think it sticks. The champion shrouded in clouds, at least up to his waist. You can still technically see his torso, but I guess in-game or in-universe, we are to see these. And there it is. Good game, D13. Amarillo Designs, the Dragonborn, running a Schwaaard deck up against Nastified, Honor, the Creator. And man, it seems like, it was like, I think 3 or 4 sessions ago, we had like 3 Honor opponents. I don't know if it's a new clan or what, but it is. It's been getting around. And I think I recognize Nastified in particular. You kind of remember names like that. They don't have positive connotations.
I will keep Sotha Sil's people alive.
You know, most of our modern day names, they have meanings that, harken back to, 10, 15 years ago. Or not, I'm sorry, centuries ago possibly, or decades. I mean, not decades, not centuries either. Hundreds of years ago, and the etymology, the root of where they come from. Like Jesse has its roots, and means different things. But we're fortunate that we don't typically directly associate names with that. Like, if your name means beautiful but stubborn, or I don't know, it makes it easier. Or I think it's a good thing because you don't necessarily get a vibe for somebody just off of their name, because whatever it means, they may or may not have been named because of that. And even if you were, your parents don't know. They don't know if you're oh boy, Nastified. has two key elements for this support mage. All he needs is a standard bearer and rune break. Amarillo definitely going to have a bit of a battle on his hand. Fortunately, not a really great... I mean, the Ward Crafter is all right. But he's... I mean... Actually, it's actually really good. I mean, it's not the best. And notice he didn't play Shadowmare. Could have played another damage. And there goes the Javelin. I was going to say, that would have been great for High King Emmerich. Because then he could have hit for 4. Oh, Shadowfen. Very nice. Forward camp going away. And suddenly, this game swung back in Amarillo's favor.
Don't count me out yet.
There's that standard bear, though. See if she had come down a turn earlier.
Don't count me out yet.
Ready to move out.
Yes, Nastified is just really a bit desperate. Understandably so. Really getting whittled down here before he can do too much. Oh, so, okay. I think that's why Amarillo held on to Shadowmare. Shadowmare in with Mentor's Ring. He's looking to combine that with like High King Emmerich. He could do that on turn 12. I don't know if this game's going to go that long. If it does, that'll hold him in good stead. But chances are, if Nastified can build that board... Okay, so he's not holding on. He's not holding out for that OTK. Well, wouldn't even be an OTK, but for that combo. Because you know Defense of Bruma is an option in this deck, and if it does, then Charge isn't going to do him a whole lot of good. Excavate, bring him back his forward camp. So not enough to play High King and Daggerfall. Unfortunately, that would have been a great way to trade. We might just see Conjuration Tutor this turn. But yeah, so what I was saying, my long-winded thing I was talking about names, you know, even if we did know what they were called, it's like your parents named you that when you're born. They don't know jack diddly squat about you yet, unless they've got some prophetic thing going on. So, you know, even if they did have a meaning, you couldn't really put too much weight on it. But when you choose a name for yourself,
Conjuration Mage never
you know what it stands for, you know what it means, and it has a connotation. Nastified has connotations. I can't say Amarillo Designs has connotations. It sounds like a business, perhaps. But I'm not sure what Amarillo means. But oh boy, that sucks. That sucks. Oh, but that doesn't. Goodness gracious. Oh. And he's gonna go with High King. Hit for 4. I don't think he's gonna hit Incarna. He's probably just gonna go face with it. He does. So Lava Atronach into Mighty Conjuring. Got his next 2 turns. But Nastified is gonna try to catch up.
Ready to move out.
What else you got? Hoping to get Drain. Charge. Doesn't get it done.
I'll do what I must.
Now he's pushing damage. He sees writing on the wall. That is probably going to be the game right there. That is a heck of a prophecy. That goes down in Kano. And so, yeah, between Mighty Conjuring or Lava Atronach, pretty much same cost. Does he have lethal, though? 9? Oh, he's got lethal with Mentor's Ring. So he just needs to break 1 rune and he's got it. Did I miscalculate? That's 9. Mentor's Ring is 3, right? That's exact lethal. Yep. So, just goes to show you that the best of us can miss lethal. Wow, Wisdom of the Ancients. Again, he's hoping for... He does not find Drain. He was hoping for that. I hope that does not cost him the game. I think it is going to. Oh my gosh.
I'll do what I must.
Sorry, Amarillo. That's a rough one to lose. All right, so I got a little antsy. I hopped over. I didn't see D13 jumping into another game, so we spectated Amarillo, but He is still in the arena. I promise I will wait to see if he plays another one so we can catch him at the very beginning. Although this is the kind of game you want to see, where the guy you're rooting for is back against the wall, getting rushed down by Yankovsky 69, the clan chieftain. But D13 has guards, and he does also. He's not going to be able to play the guards, and he has his pillaging tribune. Although, fortunately, doesn't really have anybody with a lot of attack power. He is going to take 5 next turn. He'll be able to drain for 3. You really want to have a bigger body down, but we may just see Blades and Cool Lockkeeper. 2 guards coming down. And if his Blades can stay alive, that's 4. That's 1 more. Oh! Yankovsky breakthrough. The drain is... Oh, that Sanctuary Pet is going to be huge. I was going to say that the drain is not a big deal, but the breakthrough is a big deal. Ransack, that is 6. You can target any creature, I believe. Yeah, deal 3 damage and gain health. So we might see that. Or we might see the Cool Lock into the Shadowland. Or no, yeah, the Blaze Guardian. 4/5.
It's okay. Stay behind me.
Hit face? He is going to hit face. Okay, he's already broken room. Alright, so no worries there. No worries there. I mean, Unstoppable Rage would be cruel. That is also very unfortunate. Kovsky finding the answers he needs. So he'll probably be ransacked. Oh, wow.
Bow to me.
The ransack into Moonmoth Castellan? Blink Pet takes out the emo vampire. I am a child of darkness. I'm so edgy. All the girls want the edgy guy with the sharp, fangy teeth. Thank you, Twilight. Huh. I got a noise gate on. I'm trying it out for the first time, and I think it's set a little too high.
I will not waste words on one so ugly.
Dang, Mummy, she just called you ugly. And she is not wrong. You're going to give her a card. Wait, is it a card or a shackle? What is that? I can't remember. Draw a card. Yep. Alright, so it does have a 4/2. This may be the... Oh, and a giant bat. I think D13 is going to pull out of this just fine.
This is yours now.
Even without the giant bat. That might be a concession from Miakovsky.
You can tell them you thought of it.
No board. D13 has
If you're looking for trouble,
a very nice board.
find
Lots
it.
of guards. Yeah. I would say this game is in the bag. Has anybody seen the bag? Because D13's got the game in it.
Blood on the walls.
Sanctuary Raid into Pillaging Tribune. Possibly. For the win.
Leave nothing.
Prophecy. Probably not going to be enough to shake things in Minkowski's favor. It helps. Certainly does help.
See how they like someone who fights back.
But D13 is saving that Sanctuary Raid for a bigger guard. Guessing. That is reach as well. It's +1 to attack to everything in the lane. Right? And Yankovsky's gonna run it out. No harm in that.
The road ends here. Turn back or die.
Okie dokie. Well, I think it's dead. I will just Sanctuary Raid you and... Oh no, he's gonna hit for 1 with the Cool Opkeeper, get him down to 6, and then Sanctuary Raid. or exactly. Bam! Nicely done, D13. Whee! For what will probably be the last game of the day, rejoining D13 in the arena, and D13 said this is actually just for an Imperial quest. You know, play X number of Imperials, which is crazy to me. Like, yeah, so, I mean, it's just, he's had a fancy... Oh, and we're going to get to see Priest of Mara.
Peacefully.
Like, Priest of Mara with no equipping anything. Or Priest of Mara. Skirmisher's Elixir. All right, so... See Giselle. See Giselle? Giselle. We're going to say see Giselle. Champion of the arena. I don't know about champion in the arena. Rank 9 in arena. It's certainly not bad, but I wouldn't say it's a champion. Oh, and Mara's priest is held down by Skelly Boys. He's got a pretty decent body. I mean the 2-5, of course. For a 3-drop? Is that a 2-drop? 3-drop, yeah. 2-5. I mean, obviously, there's better cards for those stats in Constructed, but for Arena, I'm guessing it's all right. Too bad there wasn't a creature on the board that we could see her effect, but base her off. Lots of skeletons. How in the world? Oh. Yeah, that's just weird. It makes me think of it as a... Like, it seems Constructed just because... Yeah, there's a lot of skeleton summoning going on. So... Monastic champion, perhaps?
True peace, ferocity.
Oh yeah, P13 just going for his Imperial quest. And oh man, I mean, it's not the worst. He might save that. Yeah. It's well, it spares him 1 damage and a trade, but all of his trades are going to be... Ooh. See? Empower with the skeleton things? Like, I mean, it's impressive, but that's the kind of thing that makes me scratch my head when it comes to believing that things are, you know, arena, that it's random. It's like, how do you... it seems like a combo, really. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with. It's just... Every time I try to do a combo, I'm like, oh, I'm going to build this in Arena. It's like, nope, we're not going to give you the cards that do that. It was a nice thought, but you don't get to do it. Monastic Champion is going to get the Pilfer. Just barely. Is also going to stay alive. Just barely.
One strike will be all that is needed.
Ah!
Soldiers, form up!
Hard. Sorry, I lost myself there for a second. Just so transfixed by the game.
You can tell them you thought of it.
I mean, it's great on curve. Boy, it seems there's a lot of prophecies in these games. I feel like, I don't know if it's 100% true, but it seems like it's almost, if you have the choice of a prophecy and pretty much anything else, you choose prophecy. Old Brand, and that was his legendary. I wonder what D13's legendary option was. And the Priest of Mara, after staying on the board for 7 turns, finally passes away. Injured by Old Brand. Another, I mean, geez Louise, it's just been across the board. There have been so many prophecies in these arena games. The Prefect might eat a javelin. That's what I would expect if I was D13, just because that's how things go. Arrest, I'm going to say that's just as bad.
This might be
Either way, it's no longer on my side of the board. And you're going to take out the 4 degrees, so See, Giselle is definitely up against it right now. But if he also runs Drez Renegade, he can turn things around in a heartbeat. D13 may be accounting for that. Or he just may be trying to play a creature where a mobile creature is not, because obviously Goldbrand represents 4 damage. 6! I can count. 2, 4, 6. I guess that makes it. So more than likely Tiger goes away. An experiment on the shackled creature. Again, something you'd expect of a constructed deck. An impressive build in Arena by C. Giselle. Oh. Great card to have.
For the Emperor.
Okay, puts down a yard. 13 with no real answer stat at this point. Way to get aggressive.
It's okay.
Oh, no, just kidding. He's going to be able to give his little
me.
Bitterfish Witch enough to take on. He can do 1 damage, which is alright. Doesn't break a rune.
Burn it all
Now we know
to the ground.
his opponent, I don't know if he's going to play it, but he can play the Awakened, the 8/8 guard.
regret your heresy.
I'd say
Not going to happen. So he's going to kill the 4/5 and going to kill the Pillaging Tribune. Has to. This is dead next turn. And yeah, got a big old guard coming down next turn. Does E13 does not find any reach. Sanctuary Pet is going to be a good answer for the Awakened Imperfect when it comes down. Somerset. What should we do again? Oh, okay. All right. He's splitting the lanes, but he doesn't have lethal in the shadow. So we may see the prefect come in. Okay, now he has lethal in the shadow. All right. He's splitting up dividing his farces, hoping that C. Giselle does not have 2 guards to play. The odds of having a 3-cost guard are pretty slim, but it could have another. What's his face? Oh, that just takes all the wind out of your sails right there. The only lucky thing was that was not
Heretic.
the Last Rune Prophecy. That would have been very painful. As it is, though, that's a heck of a thing. Luckily, D13 does have draw power in his Varanus Courier. Find some more answers. Oh, Sanctuary Raid! It'll be enough! He top decks the answer! Boink! Sanctuary Raid on the Dark Harvester. And that is just enough for lethal. Another fiery win from D13. Well done, sir. And that's going to do it for today's video. So once again, if you have any questions about the Shred for the Bread contest or the tournament, feel free to hit me up, jgray@gmx.com. I can also use that email that you send me to send you an invite for the Dropbox, so you can submit stuff. We can get it off of YouTube. We can figure stuff out. Just reach out if you have questions or concerns. And in the meantime, thank you all for putting your prowess on display. Did an amazing job. We got to see some amazing games. And thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, keep playing.